Good afternoon, all. Okay, so today we have arranged one session on research paper writing a process. So, as this is a very important session, as in view of your publications, as you know that whatever you are doing, that your project, so that should be published or that should be known to everyone. So, for that purpose, we are arranging this session for you all. So, our Assistant HOD, Dr. VG Kare, he is going to conduct this session. So as you all know about him, but still I would like to introduce about Dr. VG Kare. He is the Assistant HOD and Associate Professor.
आवाज नहीं है.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Properly audible.
Okay, thank you. So he is a associate professor in our ANTC department. He has completed his PhD in image processing and machine learning from Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. He has published many papers in international and national journal and conferences. So he has wide experience regarding research paper publication. And that is why we have arranged his session for you all so that he will guide you in your paper writing. Okay. So I would like to request Dr. Kale sir to continue with his session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So today's session will be totally a different session regarding research paper and writing a process. So within 45 minutes to 1 hour, actually, we are going to finish all of the things, and you'll also see an example of how to write paper with the help of an IEEE template. First of all, let us understand what are the things that are present in research paper writing. So whatever the project work you do, whatever the programming codes you do, the algorithm you develop, whatever the things that you have implemented, or it may be an application development, that has to be presented somewhere, because otherwise the genuineness of the work cannot be come forward. So in order to get all those things and represent your work, your project work somewhere in the paper, in a recognized research journals or in the conferences, is very, very important. So as you know that there are different conferences that are arranged, that may be national or international levels. So you can have this research papers that could be published as in research articles. Then you can publish your research papers as in conference papers, that may be national, international conference papers. Then you can also publish your book as a book chapter. Means what happens is that there are different conferences where they collect all the works and they divide it into chapter wise, and then that chapter is published as a book chapter. Or it may be your work, if it is very big enough, it is very large, and a lot of work has been carried out in that, you have different chapters by your own, you have written, you have a lot of experience in writing all those things, then you can also go for book publications also. Then the papers that are reviewed, peer reviewed papers are also there, where there are different types of checking of the paper has been carried out, and then the papers are published. Like blind review is there. Then the double review is also there, where your name is not been displayed, only the paper is been checked. So all these things, kinds of paper publications are there. So we are going to see one example, or we are going to see how these research papers have to be written. Then this will also be very much useful in writing also thesis, because what happens that UG or PG thesis is to be written in a very proper way, because whatever work you have been doing, that work has to be presented in a very particular way, in a very nice way, nice representation has to be done. So all these things will be very important once you start, and once you write, once you get an habit of writing the paper, once you get an habit of writing the technical write-ups, then it becomes very much easier. So I could say that how much publication is important is that without publication, science is dead. Because even if it is not published, then the work is completely useless. The weight is the work is completely wasteless. It is a wastage, complete wastage of the things. So we should go for the publications, and we are going to see some of the steps about how to write down the papers. So actually, let us start with some of the some of the things that are related with the research. So it is quite an very important area, which will keep you always into a learning phase, where you'll always be updated whatever that has been happening. So you can go for the research. You should always keep yourself in a research, because new things are coming out in the market each and every day. So actually, what is research? So if you want to see that, if to understand what is research, we can define, we are going to see the definition of the research. We are going to see some of the characteristics of this research. What is quantitative research? What is qualitative research? And then we'll see also the examples of the research. So one by one, we'll see. Now, what is research? Actually, research is nothing but it's a creative ways in order to generate the state of art concept, a method, as well as understanding the existing theories in a new light. So where you can do a research? You can do a research by using the existing knowledge to create something new, to create something called as a method, to create something called as state of art concept, as well as understanding the existing theories and putting some new light into it is also called as research. A method of carefully considering studies regarding a specific concern or problems with the help of scientific methods. So obviously the method should be a scientific method. It should not be in very unscientific. You have to put it in a very scientific way. So इसका मतलब क्या है कि आपका किया हुआ नया काम, नई क्रिएटिविटी, नया मेथड, नया अल्गोरिदम, नया एप्लीकेशन, एग्जिस्टिंग थियरीज को कंसिडर कर कर कुछ उसमें नया काम जो आपने किया है वो लाइट में लाने का काम, यानी कि रिसर्च का काम. सो आप जो भी कर रहे हो, अगर उसमें कुछ नयापन है, आपने कुछ काम किया है, उस काम को अगर आप रिप्रेजेंट कर सक रहे हो तो उसको हम रिसर्च बोलेंगे. रिसर्च रिफर्स टू अ सिस्टमैटिक इंक्वायरी ऑफ डिस्क्राइबिंग, एक्सप्लेनिंग, प्रिडिक्टिंग एज वेल एज कंट्रोलिंग एन ऑब्जर्वेबल फेनोमेना. सो रिसर्च में क्या क्या चीजें होगी? आप किसी चीज को डिस्क्राइब करोगे थ्रू बाय मीन ऑफ objectives, then you're going to explain something, you're going to predict something. So आप research work में कुछ predict भी कर सकते हैं कि आपने ये result सोचा था और मेरा ये prediction आया है. और दूसरी बात है controlling an observable phenomena, that is nothing but the observation that you have been find out, which is in a controlled manner. So the way you want to get to an the observation has to be very much important. All these things is nothing but research. And if you want to be always new, if you want to be always young, you always should keep on doing research. You always should keep on doing something that is very important. So there are also differences between research and patent. These are also two things. Now, if you think that when we do research, is it possible to apply the same kind of thing on the patent also? Yes, you can apply. See, patent can be done in different ways, research can be done in different ways. Whatever the project implementation you're doing and you're writing it on a paper about the results and conclusions what I have observed, that is called as a research paper. Whatever the ideas, innovative ideas and new ideas if you have got, that is called as the idea patent, a process patent, or a product patent. That is completely new workout to be. And if you are bringing it in like challenging that this is completely a new, then it is called as that thing can be patented. But in research work, you can take some of the references of the work carried out of previous person, and then you can carry from there. So it is not necessary that all the research papers can be patented, but yes, some of the research papers you can do for patent. But first we should know how to write these research papers. Now, what are the characteristics of a research paper? Obviously, it is an approach to capture accurate data. So you need to have that accurate data, because if the paper is written and you're sending the paper for the towards a reviewer of a journal, then you should be able to give answer, because reviews होंगे उस पेपर के, और जब वो पेपर्स के रिव्यू होंगे तो उसका फिर रिव्यू होने के बाद आपके रिव्यूज भेजेगा रिव्यूअर. तो उसमें वो भेज सकता है कि ये नया डाटा आपने कैसे लिया, उसका ऑथेंटिकेशन भेजो, ये कहाँ से आया, वो रिजल्ट कहाँ से आया. सो आपका जो एक्यूरेट डेटा है वो बहुत देना जरूरी है, ताकि जो वो चेंजेस मांगेगा, जर्नल आपको अगर बोलेगा, जर्नल एडिटर बोलेगा कि ये चेंजेस करके मुझे आप भेजो, तो आपको वो करते आने चाहिए. Researchers need to practice ethics and code of conduct while making observations or drawing conclusions. Yes, obviously, when you have to keep ethics into picture as well as code of conduct. Code of conduct यानी किसी चीज को आप कॉपी कर कर आपने पेपर में नहीं डाल सकते, किसी का काम एज इट इज कॉपी नहीं कर सकते, बिकॉज दैट लीड्स टू अ कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट. सो आपको ये अच्छी तरह से देखना पड़ेगा कि जो काम ऑलरेडी हो चुका है उसे कॉपी पेस्ट आप नहीं कर सकते. हाँ, उसके रिजल्ट्स को लेकर आप नया रिजल्ट कोई डेवलप करना चाहते हैं तो दैट यू कैन डू, that is possible, you can do it. The analysis is based on logical reasoning and involves both inductive and deductive methods. So the analysis can be a logical reasoning also, कि भाई आपने क्या एनालिसिस किया है, क्या लॉजिक लगाया है, उस हिसाब से आप एनालिसिस कर सकते हैं. रियल टाइम डेटा एंड नॉलेज इज ऑल्सो डिराइव फ्रॉम एक्चुअल ऑब्जर्वेशंस. You can go with the real time data and knowledge that could be derived from the actual observations. In-depth analysis of all data collected, that can be also done with the help of research. It creates a path of generating new questions. So in the future scope you can create some kind of new questions कि ये यहाँ तक मैंने काम किया, इसके आगे का काम मुझे करना, इस आगे के काम में ये future scope से. So there should be no ambiguity in the inference, so no confusion has to be there. It should be very clear and crystal, and all the things should be represented very much. All the things should be linked with each other. Like if I want to write down a paper, I'll start from the introduction to the conclusion and references. Everything has to be linked. Each and every point has to be linked. Then only the research could be good enough to be presented. Accuracy is one of the most critical aspect of research. The information must be accurate and correct. So obviously, when you implement any kind of method, a new method, you have to find out some of the parameters like which will help you to prove whether your method is correct or not. And in that sense, accuracy is one of the most important parameters or a critical aspect of the research, where you can check whether your method is good enough or not. For example, laboratories provide a controlled environment to collect data. Accuracy is measured in the instruments used, calibration of the instrument, or it may be the experiment's final results. All these things also can be calculated by the mean of accuracy. Once you get the accuracy, you can say that your method is good enough. Now, we are not going to go in these details. Like, there are types of research methods. One is a qualitative method and the other one is a quantitative method. So qualitative research method is nothing but it's a like a focus groups, or it may be text analysis, or it may be a case study. Whereas the quantitative is very much dealing with numbers and measurable forms. यानी कि जो measure कर सकते हैं उसको quantitative methods बोलते हैं. जैसे survey research हो, descriptive research हो, correlational research हो. ऐसे क्वालिटेटिव और क्वांटिटेटिव टाइप के रिसर्च मेथड्स अवेलेबल है. सो हम इस पे ज्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे कि ये कैसे कैसे कौन सा रिसर्च करना चाहिए. हम नॉर्मली एक वे से एक छोटा सा एक रिसर्च पेपर करना चाहते हैं, और वो रिसर्च पेपर आप एक सर्वे पेपर भी कर सकते हो, एक छोटा सा रिव्यू पेपर भी कर सकते हो कि आपको ये नॉलेज पता है और आप एक डिफरेंट वे से उस नॉलेज को रख रहे हो. सो ऑल दिस थिंग्स is very important in writing down the research paper. So some of the basics is that why this is very important to write down a publications or research, and what makes science so strong, that there has to be importance of that research work which is to be going to be carried out in everybody's life. Those who are taking education, higher educations, they need to somewhere publish their work out, whatever the new work that is been carried out. Then it may be an open communication of methods like results, data, etc. You can publish in conferences, seminars, and publications. Then in peer reviews and free discussions of the results, repeatability of work and compatibility with the other results. So all these things is possible with the help of science. Now, the publications are very much important to understand. These publications means actually the results that can be openly discussed, tested, and compared. And that's why you can go for the publications. We need to really trust the results we publish. That is very important as far as the publication is concerned. We have to trust our results, whatever we have got. Then we must publish our results even if we don't like to write. See, The most difficult part is to write down a paper. Even if you don't like, we should have an habit of publishing our results. Because what Darwin theory says, a naturalist life would be happy one if he had only to observe and never to write, right? So सबसे अच्छा काम होता है ऑब्जर्व करना, लिखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए, because it is the most difficult part. But writing the technical paper or a technical article or maybe a book chapter or maybe a book is always a tough task, because whatever thoughts, whatever the experience, whatever the reading you have, to write it on a paper is always a difficult task. The number and the quality of the publication is very, very important. You cannot publish your paper anywhere. It is very important to understand where you should publish your paper, and the quality of the publication has to be then has to be decided. The quality of the journals has to be also decided, and your work should be of that much of quality to be get published in journals. So high quality journals is nothing but the Scopus journals, the SCI journals. Scopus journals are very high indexed journals. They are peer reviewed journals. Then you have elsewhere, then you have IEEE, then you have IEEE conferences, IEEE transactions, then you have Taylor and Francis. Then you have lots and lots of renowned journals where you can publish your quality of work. So, but your work has to be very good quality, then only it will be published. Otherwise, there will be a lot of rejections every time you publish a paper. So publish or perish means what specifically for your research school, publication is a requirement for the successful completion of thesis. Even if you go to do the higher education like MTech or PhDs, there also nowadays publication has been made compulsory. Like you have to publish the SCI journals, or it may be the Scopus journals. At least 4 to 5 publications is needed, or sometimes it is also required to have. Nowadays also there is a trend of publishing patents also. So most of the higher educations like MTech or ME, or it may be PhD, there also you required the paper publications to be done in a very high quality journals. Now there are some of the things which is very important to write is before writing, there are few things which has to be taken into consideration. Think whatever you want to communicate, identify the main aim and message of your paper while writing. Wait with writing until you get a final or almost final results. So obviously half of the work you can do like writing your abstracts, writing your introduction. Beyond that, you have to wait for your results, because the results column will be making your paper publication a very good one. So it is inefficient to write or rewrite or rewrite as result evolves. So you have to keep on making changes in your paper as the results keep on improving, and the paper will also keep on improving. It doesn't mean that at one time if you're getting a result that will be final one. So you can rewrite, you can write, rewrite as well as rewrite different times as the results will get evolved. Even if you have a final results, you will often find that you need to redo some work once you start to write. So ऐसा कई बार होता है कि आपका फिर एक बार फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में कुछ चेंजेस आ जाए तो आपको फिर से एक बार स्टार्ट से लिखना पड़ सकता है, क्योंकि आपके रिजल्ट्स अचानक से चेंज हो गए हो, जो आपने सोचा वैसा नहीं आ रहा है. So depending upon, you have to make changes accordingly. Start writing soon after getting your results. So it is surprising how quickly one forgets a detail, because sometimes somewhere you get a result and after that you can forget it, what was the point which I wanted to mention in my paper. So always keep on writing on a paper, on a paper or in a book, that this was the result which was decided by me. So now this is the thing to be added in the paper, and all those things you can add. Discuss with your supervisor. He or she can judge best whether it is a good times to start writing. It is also very important when you write down a paper, there should be somebody to whom you can check your paper, because when we write down a paper, it is somewhat different. We always think that we have written a very good paper, but the other's point of view is also very important, because that will help you to identify the errors or the mistakes in the paper that you have written. So it also will help you to improve your paper. So to have a guide, to have a supervisor is always a good thing. So under your supervisor, you will always keep on improving about writing the papers. Some of the few points that are very important is that what kind of publications you should go. So you can have a journal paper, a review paper, it may be a conference proceeding paper. So I have already said to you that what kind of paper publications you can have. So you can apply it in a journal paper. So journal is there, peer reviewed journals are also there. Then you can have a conference proceeding papers. So all the types of journals you can publish, all the types of conferences where you can publish your paper. I do feel so paper publications in conferences is little easier as compared to paper publication in the journals. Now there are two, I said that there are three types of journals. One is your SCI journals, which is of highest quality. Then you have a Scopus journal just below that. And the third journal is a UGC care journal, which is a very normal journal. So a very normal paper can be submitted into this. So when you're writing your first paper, you can also start with the UGC care journals instead of going directly to the SCI journals, which will take a lot of time. Also, the publication time of the paper is also very high in case of Scopus and SCI, whereas in case of UGC journals, you can publish it in within 1 month also. So that is very, very important. This is not important. Okay, before starting to write, what are the things that is to be included while writing the paper? Okay, so there are different things that are very important as far as the paper is concerned. One is your title. The title has to be very important. You know, like sometimes your title decides what the paper, your paper is having. And most of the times your title of the paper also decides whether it gets selected in the journal or not. So it should be very strong. Second, authors. Just below the title, you have to write down the name of the authors, affiliation of the authors. It may be address, email IDs. Then after that, you are also have to write down the keywords of the paper. Now, what keywords means that you have to find out 5 most important words you have used in the paper. Those are called as the keywords. 5 most important. In some of the transactions or journals, it may go up to 9 to 10 words, but at the most minimum 5 to 6 words are the keywords that you have to identify. In number of journals, you will find that 5 to 6 word keywords have to be mentioned. Whereas in case of IEEE transactions and all those things, you require 9 to 10 keywords also, but your work has to be good enough. Normally the paper could be in a single column or it may be in double column. So in most of the journals like Springer, elsewhere, they normally like the Springer. There are few journals which likes single column. There are few of the journals which likes double column also. And mostly if you see that 2 columns, then the pages should be 6 to 7 pages. At least your paper has to be there if it is in a 2 column. And if it is in a single column, then it may extend. In number of journals, it may go to 16 to 18 pages also. And for the IEEE or IEEE transactions, it may goes to 30 to 40 pages also. So depending upon the type of work, it may vary. Then you have to write down the abstract. So while writing down the abstract, the words should not be more than 250. So the abstract has to be very specific. The abstract should be having a little bit of introduction of your title, then the methodology that is being used, then the conclusions, and the results what you have got, and then conclusion. So the abstract is like whatever that is you have written in a paper, that is to be written in 250 words. That is what the abstract is about. Abstract should not be more than 250 words. It should be up to 250 words, but it is to be written very powerfully. It has to be written because most of the time, a lot of times the reviewers select your paper based on your results and abstract. Then when you start down a paper, you have to give an introduction. So introduction, as you know, that what, from where it has started, how it has started, what are the things that have been included into that, and all those things has to be included in introduction. Then methods and materials, and what kind of methods are there available. Then what is your method, what are the data that is being used, what kind of pre-processing can be have been done. So all those things will come in methods and materials. Then comes your results. So whatever results you have achieved, results are very important. Sometimes results and discussions are can be also written together, and conclusion can be written separately. So results and discussions में आप results को बता सकते हैं, उस पर discussion कर सकते हैं, and then you can move towards the conclusion. Acknowledgement can be also done if somebody is helping you. If it is a sponsored, then you can write down the acknowledgement of those people who have helped you to sponsor. Some of the agencies which are helping you financially, or some of the institutions which has helped you. Like in my case, if we'll give an example, like when I started writing my paper, my thesis, at that time actually I was needing a lot of data. So the data was regarding the lung cancer as well as normal lung images. So lung cancer images and non-cancerous images has to be collected in order to review the method. So in that case, I have to go to a lot of pathologies to collect it. So at that time, Dr. Vittal Rao Vikhe Patil Engineering College was there in Ahmednagar, where I found a lot of images, because it was a hospital as well as college. So from there I got it. So I gave an acknowledgement that I got the things from the hospitals. And then the references, which is very, very important. So mostly if you go with the number of references, minimum 15 to 20 references has to be there. If the work is very good enough, it may go to 30 to 40 references also. So this is the very common structure that has been there. But beyond that, the structure may also vary depending upon the type of the journals or the type of pattern they have. So it may be vary. Don't go for long sections, divide it into subsections also. So you'll be having one section and then dividing it into subsections also. Select the results which you want to show. So the figures has to be very, very important. The figures are very much important. Should choose very good figures that is need to be published. Your work should be larger than that of reader. Obviously, the work which you have been doing, it should be very much larger as compared to what the reader thinks about. Then writing various parts of the paper that are most natural to you. I like to start at introduction and write through at end, and then add figure, caption, references, and abstract. So there are different ways of writing the paper. Some of them like to start with the introduction. Some of them would like to go with the results in conclusion and then go back to the introduction. Some of them starts with abstract, introduction, they go with the sequences. So depending upon what you like best can be started off. Other people prefer to start the figure captions, maybe better technique for your first paper. So there are few people who would like to start with the figures also. So depending upon your interest, you can start writing your paper. So the paper can be written in two formats. One is your Word format, MS Word format, and the other one is a LaTeX also. So nowadays LaTeX is in very craze actually, because LaTeX give a very perfect pattern of writing the paper. It gives in a very perfect way of writing the papers. So you can download the LaTeX software, and it is available on the net, and through LaTeX you can write down the paper. So mostly the journals or the conferences actually takes only two types of papers. One is a .word, that is .doc type of document, or .ltx type of document. So they will give you the templates. In most of the journals, they have their own templates. In some of the journals, they say that you can prefer the IEEE journal. So we are going to see one of the sample of IEEE format also. So please, if you want to go for the publication, better you go with latex, because latex is a very foolproof and sound type of documentation where you can write down a paper in a very nice way. So latex is a very good one. Beyond that, if you want to start with it, you can start with the Word document also. The title is very much important. The title should be very attractive. It should not be too long. I do feel so 2 line is enough, not more than that. It should reflect the general field of the paper. It should be very precise as possible. It should not be too grandiose or promise too much of things, and there is nothing in the paper and it is very promising. So very important to write down a very good title. Authors and affiliation, I have already discussed about you. Please don't write down the name of the author as a Mr., Dr., Mrs. and all those things in front of the name of the author. Keep it simple, like if my name is Vaishnav Kale, I will write down as Vaishnav G. Kale. So it's very simple. Don't give any kind of the initial name like Dr., Mr., Mrs., Professor and all those things. We should not write down, right? So there will be main author and rest of the authors will be considered as co-author. Authors and affiliation में email addresses का लिखना बहुत जरूरी है. So please don't write down the complete address. It should be very precise and specific. An email address should be also included in most of the journals. Then abstract. So I've already said it should not be more than 250 words. I suggest using the active voice as the first person in case of abstract. No figures, no tables, no references, no footnotes, no avoid abbreviations, equations and symbols, and make sentence short. This is about the abstract. You cannot add any kind of table, figures, references, neither you can add footnotes, avoid observation, abbreviations also in that. Then no equations, no symbols, and makes very short sentences and simple sentences. So you can have like how you can divide the abstract, 1 to 2 sentences on background and aim, then a short description of what has been done, and finally bring the main result and major consequences. So this is how the abstract can be written. Condensate of the paper in 1 paragraph is nothing but the structure of abstract. It should be not more than 250 words. This is the punchline. So I'll give you that whole thing. Okay, we'll start with the introduction. So in case of introduction, you need to describe the background and the context of your work, what have been done before. It may be relevant literature, then research article, not a review article. See, there are 2 different articles. One is a research article and not a review article. So review article is a very small article. Research article is a big article. So research article, in that way, you have to keep everything very specific. Say that the present work needs to be done. Some criticism of earlier work may be necessary. Try to be mild. You don't want others to be harsh about your work either. This is all about introduction. Definitely needed goals of your paper. Similar paper exists. What is new in the method of the results? Methods and material. It is called as differently or can be broken into 2 or more sections. Computational technique, appropriate for numerical papers. Then instrument and measurements, if there is instrument. Data and analysis techniques, if there is data. And instrument and observations plus methods of analysis. So this is the way the method and material section can be divided into. So depending upon what kind of paper you're having, it is going to vary. So if your paper is completely a mathematical, then you can have a computational technique. If it is based on some instrument and giving the measurements of the instrument, that is something different. Then if you're having only a data which you're going to analyze, then data and analysis technique. And then there could be like instruments and observations and methods of analysis, and everything can be included in methods and material. You have to find out the balance between describing everything important and leaving out everything not needed. So you have to keep a very good balance between them. Do not repeat descriptions continuously, the same kind of thing you're explaining. Rule of thumb is that new method, new instrument, new type of data, describe in detail since required for reproducibility. Known method or instrument previously used and described in other paper, often a reference is sufficient. So if any data you have been taking into consideration to take your research further, you can use the references there. You have to completely mention the references there. Do not repeat descriptions, and often a figure can illustrate and clarify the method. So figure is very, very much important if you're going for your methodology. Results. This is the most important section, the core of the paper, I could say, where results are obtained during long labor of research. You have to be concise. Please select the results, identify the important and new results before writing about them in the result section. Keep in mind the fool collects facts, the wise man selects them. So just collecting the fact is not going to be important. How you select them is very, very important. Don't be too wise. First collect the facts and then select them. Okay, so these are the lines which are quite enough, interesting enough to understand. Avoid repetition. Yes, I know that I'm repeating this statement, but this is the talk and not a paper. So as far as the repetition is concerned, in talking, you can continuously repeat the things, but not in paper. That is not possible. More results, decide on what you put the result section and what to move to the discussion section. So there are two things into this. One is your results and the other one is discussion. So what you want to put it as a result and what you want to have a discussion on that result, there are two different things that are very, very important. So you have to first of all decide that where is the result and what is the result and what is the discussion part. General rule, but not a very hard and fast one. In the result section, you can only describe the result, but do not interpret them very much. So in the result section, you can put the results. In the discussion section, provide the interpretation and comparison with literate without repeating the results. So result में सिर्फ result डालो, interpret मत करो ज़्यादा, और discussion के अंदर interpret करो और compare भी करो कि भाई ये पहले result ऐसा आया था, अभी ऐसा आया है. Figures are very, very much important as far as results are concerned. So use figures to show the main results if possible. Each figure must be referred to in the text. Each figure must have a caption. One way to structure this section is to write it around the figures. However, do not forget to make a logical order of the figures also. So कोई भी figure किधर भी मत डालो. This is how the figure can be. So you can have the title of the figure, y-axis, x-axis. Then y-axis में क्या लिखना है वो भी चाहिए, x-axis में क्या लिखना है वो भी चाहिए. You should also have a caption. So you can see this is the caption of the figure. Then the major tick, minor tick has to be there. जो आप select करते हो ग्राफ का, what you say about that, the axis, it should be properly written, and the caption of the figure should be exactly below the figure. Okay, this is very important. This is the anatomy of the figure. Then the lines and character thickness, labels, character size, font, number and size of minor and major ticks. All these things are very important. Axis range, that I was saying, which I was missing here. Then linear log scale, x-axis, line scale, style, color, symbol, key to symbols, and then the caption. These all things are important related with the figure. Then the table is always written above the tables. Make a table if you have multiple numbers to show and you cannot put them into figure, or if extract numbers are important. Figures are generally easier to read than the tables. A table may be useful in method section, a table of observation. Each table must have a title. Keep it short. Each table must be referred to in the text. Describe the different columns of the table, either following the table. Some journals do not allow this or the main text. Some journals publish very long tables electronically only. Possibly put them in appendix. So there are different rules for writing the tables. Most of the time you can have the rows and columns. Then you can have the caption of the table written on the table. While making a table, you can explain that what is there in the table just below the table, or giving the reference as table number 2, table number 3, and all those. So this is how the table 1, like a description of the caption above the table, and this is how the table can be prepared. So what are the important things? Figures versus table, title or caption above the table, column headings, including units, alignment of the column in a table body, lines of demarcation, and footnotes, that is sources of the data. Discussion, so you can discuss whatever you have written about. Acknowledgement, I have already said that if something is given by you, by an institute, by a person, you can write down his name in the list. This is very important. References, so we are coming to the end of the paper where the end is there. So what is the first one? The title of the paper is there. Then you have author's name, then you have affiliation of the authors, then you have abstract, then you have keywords, then you have introduction, then you have methods and materials, then you have results and discussion, then you have conclusion, and then we have references. So references has to be put in a square bracket wherever you are using, and those references should be put into those lines where you have used those references. The references, I said, it could be minimum 15 to 20 references used in the paper. It could be also more if your work is good enough and you have referred a lot of papers on that. So how the references can be written, and there are different styles of writing the references, but one which most of the papers prefer is an API type of references, API. So how it is been that you have to write down first the name of the author, then the paper title of the paper, and then the publications, and then the page number. This is how it could be. The references style may differ from the journals or books. They may differ. So they will give you like write down in this style, in this style. So on net you can go and write down the API style of references. So you'll come to know how the references has to be written. This is all about references. Okay, which journals is most important thing? So I have given you that there will be a lot of journals. So there are two types of journals. Mostly there is a free journal, the conference journal, and then you have a open access journals. So the open access journal normally charges, the free journal does not charge, and the conference journals may be there where the journal and conference can combine together. So at that time they can charge for the conferences, and you can go and search which is the Scopus journal, which is the SCI journals. So and UGC care journals also you can search. If it is a UGC care journal, then most important thing what you can have is that there should be a UGC care journal number should be there. UGC care number is there. So if your journal is having that number, then that means it is in UGC care. Otherwise it is a fake journal. So please don't fall to the fake journals, because there will be a lot of fake journals. Please go for the standard journals, which are very, very important. Like elsewhere, it may be Springer, it may be Taylor and Francis. Then there is a Wiley publication is also there, which is very nice. McGraw-Hill publications is also there. Then Prentice Hall publications is also there. You'll be having a lot of journals. IEEE conference is also there. Then IEEE transactions also are also there. For electronics, you can find a lot of things. So the Springer journal is there, like general, like Nature and Science. For physics, there are different journals. For the astronomy, there are different journals. And in some of the journals, it is also written that you have to have the only 6 to 7 pages. Beyond that, you will be charged. Per pages you will be charged. So accordingly, you have to set your pages. Please go with good reputation journals only. So what are the things that are required to be in a research? You have to be always in research, because science is always a very interesting field. If you're not in a research, that means you're dead. You are not doing anything. So what kind of account you should have? So you should always have a Google Scholar account. So you can go and write down on internet, Google Scholar, and then you can create your own account. You can also add paper there. Then second is a ResearchGate account. Again, you can go on net. You can write down ResearchGate and you can open your new account. Again, you can add your papers manually. You can add as well as you can also access these Web of Science or the Scopus or the SCI journals. These Google Scholar or the ResearchGate account can automatically access your paper if it belongs to the Web of Science, SCI or Scopus. You can also add your Scopus papers in scopus.com also is there, where you can add directly your papers, or it can be automatically accessed if it comes in a Scopus. Then open access SCI journals list is also there, Scopus journal list is also there, and search journal list is also there. So you can take a snap of this one. You will be finding out these some of the links where you can go for the research finding out. Open access SCI journal list you can finding out through this. So this is the Scopus journal list on which you can finding out, and the other journal list you can also find out from this. So these are the some of the types of things which you have to be. But as far as if you're in a research or if you want to be in a research, at least these two account has to be there to your name. One is a Google Scholar account, the other one is a ResearchGate account. So I hope that you have understood about this one. Now I will show you one of the template. Just a moment. Madam, clear? Is my screen clear?
No, sir, it is not visible.
Ah, it is not visible. Just a moment. Okay, now. Hello.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
It is visible. Okay, so this is one of the template which you can refer. This is called as the IEEE template. Mostly if you find it out, you can get it from the net also. The LaTeX format is also there, as well as the Word format is also there. So if you want to write down a paper, if you want to start writing a paper, better you prefer a Word document, Word paper template, instead of going for the LaTeX, because LaTeX you have to learn a lot of things and then you can go for the LaTeX also. But this is the best way. So you can have this paper title. So you can see that it is in a Times Roman. यहाँ पर ऊपर दिख रहा है आपको Times Roman और 24 लिखा हुआ है. सो आप इस पे क्लियर करोगे तो आपको ये पता चलेगा कि ये टाइम्स न्यू रोमन में है और इसका 24 फॉन्ट है. ये फॉन्ट और ये साइज आप बदल नहीं सकते. करेक्ट. ये आपको स्टैंडर्ड वे से ही लिखना है. सो बेटर वे दैट यू राइट यू इन विथ योर ओन वे in this, and then you can change your font. But the most important is that you have to prefer the template only. Now this template is saying the paper title should be 24 and it should be Times New Roman. Then we'll go with the author affiliation. So in case of author affiliation, you can see that this is the line 1 to line 5. This is the first author. This is the second author. This is the third author. This is the fourth author, fifth author, and sixth author. So what is there? Give name, surname. You can start with the surname. Then your department, name of the organization, right? Then your city, country, email address, or the ORCID. Now, what is ORCID? It is an ID, researcher ID. If you are in research field, when you start writing a lot of papers and then your name goes, you have a fame. Obviously, when it goes to the lot of papers have been published, at that time you receive an ORCID ID. But for that thing, you need to publish a lot of papers. through Scopus, you can find out this ORCID ID. I have an ORCID ID, which I normally used. So even if that ORCID ID is there, you can be identified by the other authors also very easily. So this is how you can write down the author and affiliation. Second most important thing is, please don't write doctor, Mr., Mrs., professor and all those things while publishing your research article. If you're writing and then journal is accepting, then it is completely wrong and the journal is a fake journal, because standard journals do not accept those things. Then you have an abstract. So this abstract should be of 250 pages or 250 words, not more than that. Then you have keywords. So you can see that components, formatting. These some of the 5 or 6 words could be mentioned in a keywords. Then you have to keep this font as it is. Then you can write down the introduction here. The second, you can write down the materials and methods. You can make a sub point also there in that. You can see here sub points. The third chapter is about the literature survey, or it could be the results and discussions. Again, you can make a sub points below that. Then the fourth one, you can have the conclusion. While writing down the equations, you have to write down the equation numbers also. Okay. Then the most important thing is the table. So you can see here table 1. This is how the table format is. Then you can have the figure also. You can add the figure, and the figure name can be given as a caption here. These are the references. So you can see the references font. It is 8 Times New Roman. So you can see the author name, title of the paper, then publications, then the page numbers, and the year of publications. So depending upon the format, you can also go for the paper publication. So this is how the things you can identify. So normally 4 to 5 chapters you can introduce in your paper. The first one is introduction. The second one is literature survey. You can add लिटरेचर सर्वे भी आप ऐड कर सकते हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. तीसरा है मटेरियल्स एंड मेथड, जिसमें आप मेथोडोलॉजी और डेटा कलेक्शन इंस्ट्रूमेंट के बारे में बता सकते हो. मेथड्स एंड मटेरियल्स के बाद आपका आएगा रिजल्ट्स एंड डिस्कशंस. So results and discussions could be a 4th chapter. The 5th chapter could be conclusion, then have an acknowledgement, and then the last is nothing but references. So references is not a chapter, so it should be written separately. So you can see that references and acknowledgement is completely written separately. Up till 6 you can write down this chapter as 4, 5, 6 and that. The most important thing is that whatever references you're using at the end of this references, suppose this is reference number 7. So this has to be written where you're using. Suppose this is a square bracket 7 where I've used this reference. So right from the in a sequence from reference number 1 to reference number 12, 13, 14, they should be everything should be in a sequence. So you have to shuffle your paper in such a way that they come in a sequence, and then you can write down the reference numbers accordingly, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in this way, you can also write down the references. This is an IEEE template. It is of 2 columns. You can see here there are 2 columns. So you can take directly the template where the 2 columns is that. Sometimes the journals may have a single column also. So at that time, you can write down in a single column. There might be like abstract in a single column, and then you can have in the paper in a 2 columns. So depending upon the type of the journals that is been there, you can have the you can select the type of the format. You can go on the Google and you can search out. Okay. So I hope that you have understood whatever I have taught in this session. Is there any question that comes in your mind? Please ask. I can answer you. Because you have to write down your paper. You are going to write down your paper. I will be there to help you, but you have to start. You have to write. You should know. You should search all these things. So please ask question if there is anything in your mind, so that I can give you the answer. No questions? So you can write your own paper now. Yes. You can write your own paper. Urmila, Gayatri, अंजलि. No
सर गायत्री
हा गायत्री बोला. काही क्वेश्चन्स आहे का? तुम्ही आता पेपर लिहू शकता का? आयडिया आली का तुम्हाला?
सर तुम्ही एक सॅम्पल पेपर पाठवलात तर बरं.
एक सॅम्पल पेपर पाठवतो. ठीक आहे. अजून दुसरा काही क्वेश्चन? तुम्हाला सॅम्पल पेपर मी व्हॉट्सअप ग्रुपवर पाठवून देतो. पुढे माझा स्वतःचाच पेपर मी पाठवतो, काय अडचण नाही. अजून काही क्वेश्चन्स आहे का?
नो सर.
समझ में आ गया? अभी आप सचमुच लिख सकते हो पेपर. टाइटल ऑफ द पेपर डिसाइड करना है, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट लिखना है, इंट्रोडक्शन लिखना है, लिटरेचर सर्वे लिखना है, मेथड्स एंड मटेरियल्स लिखना है, रिजल्ट्स एंड डिस्कशंस लिखना है, कंक्लूजन लिखना है, रेफरेंसेस लिखना है. इतनी सारी 5 से 6 चीजें हैं जो आपको पेपर लिखने में काम में आएगी. 2 कॉलम हो सकता है, सिंगल कॉलम हो सकता है. नेम ऑफ द ऑथर्स, अफिलिएशन लिखना जरूरी है. दूसरी बात, टाइटल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. 2 लाइन से ऊपर टाइटल नहीं होना चाहिए. ये सब कॉमन चीजें हैं जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. मोस्टली जो फॉन्ट होता है वो टाइम्स न्यू रोमन का ही फॉन्ट होता है. चैप्टर्स आप खुद डिसाइड कर सकते हैं. कई जगहों पर आपको चैप्टर्स वो लोग देते हैं. फॉन्ट जब आप लेते हो तो डॉक यानी कि वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट में भी बना सकते हो और लैटेक्स में भी लिख सकते हो. Are you having any kind of question? Please ask. Otherwise, we will stop here. Feedback, just a moment. Feedback.
I'll check.
हाँ.
Thank you guys, sir, for very informative session. This session, I hope it will be very helpful for you all for publishing your paper on your project. Okay. So if you have any doubt, any more doubt, you can ask, and also give a feedback in a chat box. Okay. So give a feedback regarding this session in a chat box. This session that will help you for getting the idea regarding paper writing process. Okay, so this you should now start your paper writing. So give a feedback in a chat box.
Please write down the feedback in the chat box.
So once again, I'm telling you, please write your feedback in a chat box. If you have any doubt regarding this session, you can come to us anytime, and also you can put your question in this chat box also, so we can solve it. Okay, so we will conclude this session now. Okay, so all the best for your paper writing. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.